Good morning. We're in Psalm 145 today. Again, one of my favorite Psalms. This week we're going to downshift. Instead of rapidly trying to finish up the Psalms, we're going to slow down and take our time through Psalm 145 because it's just that beautiful. I'm going to read it for you, but you should know that this is an acrostic poem, which means that every verse is a different letter of the Hebrew alphabet. And I just love the ethos of this in terms of describing God to us, but not just to us, but this sense of educating. Here's what I know about God, and I'm giving it to now the next generation. These are deep convictions of the writer. This is the kind of things that he wants to pass on to his children, to his people, to those who worship God. Do you want to know who God is? Let me explain to you who God is. So now let me read it for you. I will exalt you, my God, the King. I will praise your name forever and ever. Every day I will praise you and extol your name forever and ever. Great is the Lord, and most worthy of praise. His greatness no one can fathom. One generation commends your works to another. They tell of your mighty acts. They speak of the glorious splendor of your majesty, and I will meditate on your wonderful works. They tell of the power of your awesome works, and I will proclaim your great deeds. They celebrate your abundant goodness and joyfully sing of your righteousness. The Lord is gracious and compassionate, slow to anger, and rich in love. We'll stop there. So here David is, or the psalmist is, thinking about God, and he's thinking big thoughts about God. If you want to know what it means to hallow God's name, this is exactly what David is doing. He's thinking about the attributes of God, the nature of God, what God is like. And he's writing out his deepest feelings now about who God is. And he's just overwhelmed with the sense of God's greatness. Great is the Lord and worthy of praise. And then he starts thinking about what would I want the next generation to know about God? I need to commend God to the next generation. I need to speak of the glory of his majesty, the power of his awesome works, and celebrate his abundant goodness. So then the next thing he does in this poem is, there's 4 sections, and I'm just going to take one. The Lord is. He begins to describe what the Lord is like, who the Lord is. And he says in verse 8, the Lord is gracious and compassionate, slow to anger, and rich in love. What you may notice is that this phrase is used throughout the Psalms. It's actually used throughout the law. It is an Old Testament way of referring to God. This is who God is. God is gracious and compassionate, slow to anger, and rich in love. Sometimes we think about the Old Testament being, picturing God as wrathful or angry. And then in the New Testament we have Jesus, and everybody loves Jesus. He's just so nice. The reality of it is the deepest conviction of the Hebrew people was this: the Lord is gracious. His favor is upon us. He's filled with compassion. He is slow to anger, and he's rich in love. In fact, that phraseology was so important that they use it quite often as a basic descriptor of God. Could I just encourage you today just to take that last verse? I'm gonna read it over you one more time, but just take that last verse and meditate on it and think about how you've experienced this in your life. So maybe a moment of quiet, and then let me read it. The Lord is gracious and compassionate, slow to anger, and abounding and rich in love. Grace and peace to you.